My name's JoAnne. I'll be talking some about Ayurveda today and introducing the science of life. It's all about bringing balance within your body, and we're going to be working with the 5 elements of ether, air, earth, fire, and water, and 6 tastes: astringent, bitter, salty, sweet, sour, and pungent. So we'll learn today how our body type and makeup, along with the 4 seasons, will interact with the elements, 5 elements, and the 6 tastes to make us feel our best on a day-to-day basis. So Ayurveda is literally translated as the science of life, and it's all about bringing balance within your body and mind. So the most important way we can receive nutrients in our body and gain our fullest potential vitality in our health is through the foods that we eat. And Ayurveda focuses on how the foods that we eat are interacting with our individual makeup and body type. There are 3 characteristics or doshas that make up our body type, which are called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And we'll go into more detail about those later on, but I'm just giving a general overview of Ayurveda now. So I myself am Pitta Vata, which is fire and air. And I was born Pitta Vata, but I'm mostly Vata imbalanced. And so the Vata is what's going to come out the most for me to regulate and find my vitality the best. So the key here to following Ayurveda, the science of life, is basically a preventative. We like to prevent any disease or stress from forming in the body. And when we can prevent the disease or stress from forming in the body, we'll stay away from larger problems in the future so that we can have a longer life. So that's the basis also of Ayurveda, is longevity and quality of life. To feel great, like attracts like. So going forward, I'll talk more about the doshas that we mentioned before. There are 3 dosha types that make up our body type. There's Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. The Kapha is made up of earth and water. The Pitta is made up of fire and water. And the Vata, which is considered the queen of all doshas, is made up of ether and air. The Vata is very movable. It's moving all through our body, and if it tends to get out of balance, which is the most common dosha to get out of balance in all of us, it can also create the most problems for us. So we're going to learn ways that we can balance the Vata and also bring all 3 doshas into balance within the body today. I'm just going to describe the characteristics of each dosha a little bit for you. So if you want to start to imagine the 5 elements that we talked about earlier: earth, air, fire, water, ether. And the 6 tastes: sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. So let's continue talking about the doshas. The doshas play into both the mind and body. So we'll go over first the Vata dosha. The Vata person will have a thin build. They might be long and lengthy. They may be slightly irregular from right side to left side. In mind, when a Vata person is in balance, you will see spirituality, you'll see a lot of creativity, you will see tranquility. If they're out of balance, you might see some fear, some anxiety, some stress, maybe some worry. And then moving on to Pitta. Pitta is a medium build person. They usually have some musculature build to them. And a Pitta mind that is in balance is very intelligent. They have a good memory. Out of balance, they might become angry, hot-tempered, maybe hateful, because that's the fire getting up in them. So moving back, I'll just help you understand a little bit more. The Vata is the air element, air and ether. The Pitta is the fire and water. And the Kapha is the earth and water. So if you think of those elements, you'll be able to understand more of how that's playing out in your body, in your mind, and in your day-to-day activities. So moving on to the Kapha, that's a larger frame person. They are more well-developed. Their bones and their muscles are very well-developed. In mind, a Kapha person in balance is very compassionate, very loving, very nurturing. Out of balance, they might tend to get greedy or envious. They might be prone to attach a lot to things around them, slow moving, and they might tend to hold grudges as well. So moving on from there, you can kind of start to think about, on a day-to-day basis, or depending on what your mind state is right now, what your body build is, you might even by now be formulating a hypothesis of whether you're Pitta, Kapha, or Vata. So just stay on that path with me, and we'll get deeper into each characteristics of the doshas. So the Vata is the energy of movement, which is the creativity. We're moving all the time. So for example, in city life, in the hustle bustle of city life, you see Vata energy all around you because there's so much movement. With Pitta, we see the energy of transformation. Fire burning something is transforming it into something else. So the Pitta season, for example, is summer because it's hot out, so it makes complete sense. The Kapha energy is lubrication and structure. So that's like the firm, stable. You can think of maybe a architecture, a tall building has firm structure in it. It's the same way for a human body that has strong Kapha in it. And let's move into also the times of the day. So Pitta times of the day are between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So let's think about our metabolism, which has created the fire in our body that is churning the food that we eat. When we eat a big meal at noontime, that's the ideal time to digest food, to get energy from it. And so it makes sense. Pitta time is between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So the biggest meal of the day, 12 p.m., and you're good to go. Vata times are at night time, early morning, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. So typically to wake up before or at Vata time ending, you'll actually find yourself having more energy throughout the day. It's the great time to wake up between like 4 and 6 a.m. You'll find if you sleep in till 8 or 9 a.m., you might end up a little more lethargic than if you were to wake up during Vata hours. That's going to support your overall health and vitality for that day more. And then Kapha times are between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. So it's really important to get to bed during the Kapha times. That will serve you most for the same reasons. Because falling asleep before 10 p.m., your body at night will be able to restore itself the best. And so moving along, we have the tastes, the 6 tastes that we talked about earlier, and we'll just break those tastes down to understand how those tastes work with the 3 doshas. So for the Vata dosha, the astringent and bitter tastes are going to work with the Vata ether air element in your body. The Pitta, sour and pungent tastes, will work with the Pitta in your body, and the Kapha, sweet and salty tastes. And the reason for that is the Vata is made up of ether and air, and the astringent bitter tastes are going to, like attracts like, they're going to create more ether and air in your body. The Pitta tastes, fire, sour and pungent, are going to create more, it's going to create more fire in the body. And then the Kapha tastes, sweet and salty, is going to literally be catabolic to the cell tissue. It's going to fill the cell with water and make it bigger. So catabolic, building the cell up, anabolic, breaking it down. So the Vata tastes, astringent and bitter, are going to shrink the cell and make it smaller, just like a Vata person is thinner build. If you were to eat something astringent or bitter, it's going to be catabolic for the cell. It's going to break things down. So for example, if a Vata person is eating a lot of astringent and bitter foods, say a lot of kale, a lot of salads, it might not be good for them because it's literally breaking down the tissue too much. But for a Kapha person, it might be great because that's what they actually need. So just keep that in mind. Once you can understand how your body's working with the elements, then you can understand what's going to be beneficial for you and what maybe not so beneficial for you. So, for example, I myself am a Vata type. Even though I'm Pitta dominant, my Vata tends to be aggravated because I am an independent contractor in the city. I'm moving around a lot. The mobility aggravates the Vata, increases the Vata. So for me, it's best probably in every season to eat cooked, grounding foods. But in the summer, it might be okay to eat a lighter salad. In the winter, a salad might not be the best option. For example, a soup would be the best option. So moving along, if you start to understand how the elements are playing out in your body, the season you're living in, the part of the world you're living in, you'll start to get an idea for what will bring balance into your body and what might bring imbalance to your body. And the more balanced we are, the more we're going to crave what is feeding our balance. The more out of balance we are, the more we might actually crave what's feeding that imbalance. So if our body's imbalanced, we really have to check ourselves to recreate that pattern so that our body is actually craving what we need to create balance. And one great way to do that is to keep a dinacharya checklist every day. Choose maybe 5 practices a day that you can focus on, and then simply check them off and notice how you're feeling different each day. It becomes such a great learning experience, and it's fun and exciting to learn how to make yourself feel better with these simple tools on a day-to-day basis through food choices and just being aware of your environment and being aware of your doshas. So again, you're born with a certain dosha type. So Kapha years is a baby. Baby is Kapha years because their bones, muscles are all forming. They're nice, extra fat on the body is always good. And so those are the Kapha years from baby until puberty. And then the Pitta years come in when we procreate and when we make those changes, the transformations happening in our body. Those are the Pitta years. And then we move into older age is the Vata years, where things might start to break down and deteriorate. Vata ruled by ether and air. So just you can think about, cracking of bones or maybe some weakness would go along with the Vata dosha. So baby Kapha, puberty, midlife Pitta, and then older years Vata. That understanding that lifespan also helps us intellectually understand how Vata, Pitta, and Kapha are playing out in our lives. Some examples of what might cause an imbalance in each dosha. The Vata, like I said, moving around too much might make my Vata heightened. So if I were to ground myself and not leave home for 3 days, that would definitely calm my Vata. A Pitta person might be out of balance. Say if it's the summer, in the middle of the summer heat, and they decide to take an hour-long jog at noon. That would make their Pitta increase. That might in turn make them feel hot-tempered, maybe angry. A Kapha person might get out of balance if they take naps during the day, because that's the last thing they need. They need to keep moving. So as we're discussing what would bring balance to mind and body by balancing your dosha types, we're also going to revisit now again, because if this is really new to you, I'm just going to keep kind of repeating myself so you can get your own idea of how this might be playing out in your own life and your own body. So again, the Kapha is made up of earth and water. And some characteristics of a Kapha person, they might be a little heavier, they might be slow, they tend to get cold easily, oily because it's lubrication, it's slimy, dense, soft, and static, which is made of earth and water. And then the Pitta, let's go over some characteristics of the Pitta. Oily, noontime, summer, sharp, hot, light, mobile, and liquid, made up of fire and water. Vata, again, the queen of doshas, because it's so movable, it's kind of the easiest to move all over the body and create some imbalances. Made up of ether and air, it fills up every space in the cells, every space in the body. It's dry, it's light, it's cold, it's rough, it's subtle, it's mobile, and it's clear. So moving on to examples of what would bring balance to our doshas. The vata needs balance by grounding, because that moving energy, this energy of movement, needs to ground itself down. So holding yourself in the same place for longer periods of time is very grounding for the vata. The pitta needs cooling for the fire. So eating cucumbers would be very cooling for the pitta, for example. The kapha needs more movement, because the kapha can be static and lethargic. So not taking naps during the day is very great for the kapha, even though they might want to take naps during the day. You just have to pull that pillow out from under their head. And so getting a good idea of that, maybe thinking about some ways that that's playing out in your life, let's notice, since we talked about the cravings. So if we're coming from a balanced state, we're going to crave what is going to feed us and create balance. If we're coming from a state of imbalance, unfortunately, we might crave what's going to feed that imbalance, which again is why it's so important to kind of catch yourself and create the balance by making that checklist each day. And so let's move into some ideas of what a vata person might crave if their body's imbalanced. They're going to crave something that's going to be sweet and salty, because it's going to be anabolic for the cell. It's going to create a kapha-like feeling in the body. It's going to fill the cell with water. So that's going to bring balance for a vata. Sweet foods, salty foods is going to balance the vata. Moving on to pitta, what might balance the pitta? Something that's cooling, like I said, a cucumber. Something that working out before the sun rises, not trying to run at midday, noon hour when the sun's beating down on you. And then for the kapha, what's going to balance the kapha? Moving more, taking long, steady, slow breaths. And so let's take a walk now. I hope you have a good idea of how vata, pitta, and kapha might be playing out in your life. So again, I know I'm repeating myself, but let's move through the 5 elements that are composed of, that we're all made of in our bodies and in our environment. We have ether, air, fire, water, and earth. It's moving all within us and all around us. And then we have the 6 tastes: astringent, bitter, pungent, salty, sour, and sweet. That's either breaking down the tissue, catabolic, or building up the tissue, anabolic. So let's close our eyes, and we're going to take a walk through the city. Since I am a city girl and I live in Chicago, I am also learning from experience, and so I wanted to share this creative, thus vata, idea with you, where we all find a nice, comfortable place to lay down, close your eyes, let gravity start to take over your entire body, and try to meditate, bring your awareness to the center of the forehead, and just think about these 5 elements and these 6 tastes that we've been talking about. Hopefully you have somewhat of an idea of what your body type, your dosha makeup is, and maybe somewhat of an idea of what might be out of balance or imbalance right now. So let's start with a vata type, moving through, taking a walk in the city. What would create a pleasant walk for a vata type person in the city? Well, starting out, they would want to slow the pace down a little bit as they're walking, because that will calm and ground the vata. They want to bring their awareness to the breath. The breath might be moving at a quicker pace if they're vata dominant. So that's okay. Just let the breath be natural. Just become aware of it. Become aware of your breath. Become aware of the pace that you're walking. If you're in the city, most likely you might have to pretend that the buildings are your mountains, because of course connecting with nature and the 5 elements is going to ground your dosha makeup. So seeing the sharp, edgy buildings, high-rises, actually might aggravate the vata a little bit. All the concrete, those sharp edges, have very vata qualities in them. So maybe removing yourself to a patch of grass where you can touch the earth and ground yourself is going to be very grounding for the vata. So finding a nice patch of grass or some sort of earth element that you can connect to, slowing the pace down that you're walking, and maybe even having a seat in a comfortable seated position, closing the eyes, and there you go. That's a walk in the city for the vata that would serve you best. Moving on to pitta, taking a few breaths here and noticing the season now. So we're taking a walk in the city with pitta, and it's a beautiful summer day. The sun is shining, not a cloud in the sky, and it's about noontime, so it's around our hottest hour of the day. Maybe we just finished eating our biggest meal of the day, which would serve us best since pitta is governing the fire in the body, the metabolism, the digestion. Best time, biggest meal, noontime. The body has time to break it down. And so maybe you just finished a nice big meal. It's summertime, so maybe you choose to eat a cooling meal. A fresh salad would be ideal in the summertime. And you had your salad and you're walking a little bit slower paced, and you find a nice place to sit down and lay on your left side, because laying on your left side will help aid digestion always. After you eat, it's really nice to lay for about 10 or 15 minutes on your left side. So walk in the city with the pitta after a nice cooling salad around noontime, and then maybe finding even a body of water to sit close to. Here in Chicago, we have Lake Michigan, so that's ideal. Connect with the water element, lying on your left side, and closing your eyes and taking in the gratitude of the food that you eat. Because another part of Ayurveda is if we have ama buildup, which is undigested food, it can also be undigested emotions the same way. That can create a toxic buildup in the body, which is very common, ama. So working with the pitta person and laying on your left side after a nice cooling lunch on a summer day will help to digest the food properly, and having gratitude, blessing the food, is going to help also calm the emotions and help the body work in harmony. And then moving on, taking a few breaths, and we'll take a walk in the city with kapha. So kapha time of the year is spring, because that's when things are blooming and growing, just like the baby is kapha years. The kapha years are spring. So let's say we're walking through the city on a beautiful spring day, and the kapha person is strolling along, probably at a very slow pace if their kapha is a little out of balance. So we have the kapha person strolling along in the springtime, possibly in the evening hours. Kapha times are in the evening hours, and this is the hardest dosha for me to actually talk about, because I don't have very much kapha in my body. I'm mostly vata, which you might have picked up already. My vata is a little bit aggravated, so I'm being as natural as I can as I give this presentation. And hopefully that helps you understand, too, how these elements are playing out in my life and how they might be playing out in your life. It's a constant trial and error, and that's what's so fascinating and exciting about Ayurveda, because there's always something new to learn every single day. So here is my vata playing out, getting distracted, and also being very creative, both vata qualities. So let's move back to kapha in the spring. Kapha in the springtime, the person might be feeling lethargic if their kapha is out of balance. They might be walking slowly. They might want to pick up their pace a little bit Stay away from laying down for too long. If they do decide to take a nap after lunchtime, that's not the best thing for them. So even taking a walk is going to really help the Kapha person in their day-to-day life, and after eating, not becoming lethargic or falling into the rut of wanting to give in to the heaviness in the head and wanting to take a nap. Again, we pull the pillow out from under the Kapha person's head and say, just keep moving, keep that Vata movement energy going, and you'll be better off to keep the Kapha in balance. Vata seasons are in fall and winter. The Pitta season is summer, and the Kapha season is spring, when new life is coming. The beauty of Ayurveda is that everything makes sense once you start understanding how the elements are working in your body and how the 6 tastes can work for you in your body, and learning how to make the correct food choices so that you're creating this balance and you're craving things from a state of balance rather than a state of imbalance. So when it comes to the breath, the vital force in our body that gives us life, the Kapha breaths are best elongated. So as you're laying there in your comfortable position, let's slow the breath down and start to take 6 count inhalations and 6 count exhalations. Taking your longest breaths. Here is what's balancing Kapha in your body. Moving through, letting the breath be natural. Noticing the Pitta breath is somewhere in the middle. Maybe a 3 or 4 breath count. Get a feel for that in your body. And then the Vata energy might be the quickest breaths. So even understanding the inhalations and exhalations and how that is identified with Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So moving through some very simple practices, making better food choices, understanding how these elements are working within you and around you, understanding what you're taking in, how it tastes, what those tastes are doing to your cells, whether they're anabolic or catabolic, and if that's complementing what's balanced or what's imbalanced in your body, is a great start. Just understanding how the elements and how the tastes are working together for you, and getting your nutrients from food. It's God-given. Preventing any diseases from forming by creating balance in the body will bring longevity and will increase your quality of life. So I'm excited to bring you an introduction of Ayurveda, and if you have any questions, please let me know.